Hi, hello everybody. Firstly, it's a Friday, so a happy Friday to all our viewers of VCTV. Welcome to another episode of Venture Capital TV, which is from La Token. And today we have a very interesting topic and and speakers to support the interesting topic. It's about India. We're going to discuss about the investment landscape, the startup landscape in India. So yes, all set for the Friday, for the weekend, and let's start the show. Thank you so much. So we have today, hi Raghu and Gary. Hi, how are you? Happy Easter, happy Friday.
Hi, how are you, Sunny? It's nice to see three Indians, from outside India. It's outsider's perspective on India, I guess. Oh, all of us. Oh, there is someone joining us to give the insider perspective.
Yeah, there you go.
So with Harsh, a little bit of story. He's actually on a vacation now, and his internet connection is a little not steady. That's why he's on and off StreamYard. And StreamYard keeps on throwing him out, right, Harsh? We can't hear you. Good that you spoke. We can't hear you.
StreamYard doesn't like me for some reason.
Okay. Right. So great. It's a Friday. Wanted to say something, Harsh, before we go to the introduction? Yeah, we can't hear you loud enough. Your voice is very faint.
Doesn't sound.
Yeah, I think he needs to take those earphones out, I guess. So hi viewers, I'm getting highs. Hello, hey. आप मुझे help करें. Okay, sure, I'm going to help you. Let me know what help you need. That was Hindi, by the way, Gary. So I just saw somebody commenting. So hello viewers of VCTV. Hi speakers. Hi entrepreneurs. Today we're going to discuss about opportunities in India. And today Gary is here because he is very much involved with startup and the investment community in India itself as well. So, so before I start introducing the speakers of the panel today, I just would like to introduce myself for those viewers who joined us for the very first time. So my name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of La Token based here in Singapore. And I've been hosting VCTV, a platform to connect investors like Gary, Raghu, Harsh, to the startup community who are looking for funding, mentoring, scaling, and many other things in terms of collaborations, traction. So this is the platform we help people to expand their network beyond their boundaries. So today we're talking about investments in India, in the subcontinent India. So my questions before we start the introductions. So how it will be around what are the opportunities India has? What opportunities India has in terms of investment landscape? What opportunities the startups within India have for foreign investors? And how can Indian startups go global? And what are the challenges, obviously, being a developing country, emerging market. So there are some kind of rules and regulations in the country. So we need to discuss all that, including the challenges as well. So yes, so let's start with first round of introductions. Gary, welcome back. Happy Friday and good morning.
Good morning. Great to see my friends here today. It's now family hour, Indian family hour, and I feel privileged to join. So my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. Done 17 companies, been involved in 2 unicorn, original management team at Click Software, sold for $1.35 billion. And Eva.ai, I co-founded 5 years ago. It's $1 billion AI HR tech company. I love to write. Actually, my next article, maybe today or Monday, is on decentralized cybersecurity in Forbes magazine. Split by, so I also do a lot of podcasts. I've done almost 600 now in the last year. So, AI is a new electricity. I am the CEO, co-founder, and president of GST Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Santa Clara, California, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
First of all, Gary, welcome back and congratulations. I just saw your article, Decentralized Cybersecurity, well, which is soon to be published, but yes, congratulations in advance. And yeah, split byte, not star bytes, remember that. So yes, awesome. Family hour, we can, laugh, we can joke, we can share information, we can do everything on this platform. And today is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I mean, anyways, Raghu just said that every day feels like a Friday, being at home. So yeah, Raghu, over to you, please. And good morning.
Thank you, Sunny and VCTV. Really enjoy these shows, and this is the only time I get to talk to Gary. So maybe I should get on more shows. I want to talk to him. So yeah, I think India has great opportunities. I was actually hearing the kind of the Indian government's perspective recently. We had a call with the Indian Consul General, and he was giving us all these perspectives about the priorities of the government. And one of them is, of course, the manufacturing hub as an alternative to China, especially the Quad Initiative. And there's a lot of opportunities there in pharmaceutical, in all types of manufacturing, and then there's the digital India. So I think the tech, there's a lot of incentives from the government, as well as right now is a great time because post pandemic there's supposed to be a lot of growth and a lot of money flowing in, and some of my recent ventures have touched India and Singapore, and now we're just starting another one, organ transplant care management from India that we are bringing in. I'm just exiting one that I brought in 4 years ago. So it's great. I think I'm on board.
Thank you, Raghu, for sharing those opening remarks about what you're doing in India. We're going to deep dive during the show as well. So next I have thank you and welcome back, Raghu. And next we have Harsh. Harsh, welcome back. Are you still holidaying? Is the internet connection better?
The internet connection is better, but I'm still holidaying. But hopefully we won't have any issues anymore. So just a quick introduction about myself. I'm the founder of Startup Hackers. Startup Hackers is an early stage group primarily focused on early stage startups to kind of take them to the next level before we can take it, scale it, connect them with other high level accelerators and scale it to the next level. So trying to give them support and mentorship at that level. Additionally, I'm also a venture partner with our ventures where we collaborate and raise funds all the way up to $10 million for startups, primarily from India and Southeast Asia, but we do look at other countries as well, like Middle East and Europe as well. So right now we are collaborating with a lot of investors as well. And surprisingly, today I found an interesting medtech startup and a clean tech startup which are US based and are looking to raise funds from India. So that kind of shows the kind of opportunity which is there in India, and exactly the right time for this panel as well.
Wow! So health tech startup based out of US. MedTech, sorry, and based out of US, looking to raise funds from India. Harsh, you are actually not on mute. मैंने सुन लिया. Sorry.
My apologies.
No, it's okay. We could hear, the audience could hear. Anyways, it's okay. No worries. It happens. It's a live show. So it's okay. You wanted to continue something about that health tech startup?
No, so primarily it was an interesting medtech startup which was built in Israel, and they're looking for strategic partners in India to kind of expand. So that is that's the kind of potential which India possesses, right? India can provide good advantages in the medtech space at extremely discounted prices, and they can then be supplied and supported across the world. As Raghu was pointing out, India is looking to be like a medical device hub for the world, as a manufacturing hub. So a lot of medtech devices are now seeing India as an alternative option where they can manufacture medical devices from India. So that is the kind of collaboration which we are trying to figure out.
Perfect, Harsh. Thank you so much. And I just want to say hi to all those viewers who are watching and messaging us. Hi guys, thanks for watching. Yes, we have a token exchange working in Pakistan as well. Just one of the viewers just asked the question. So yeah, thank you so much. So let's just start about, first of all, I'd like to start with what opportunities does India have that India didn't have before the pandemic? What's new in that subcontinent that is going to attract the investors even more so? Because after Harsh just mentioned about that medtech startup, sort of getting investor interest from outside. That medtech startup getting investor interest from India rather than vice versa is also very interesting. Sort of to view. So we'll have to know what opportunities just does India hold that is attracting investors. Raghu, let's start with you. You are on mute.
See here, because I have my light on, I can't see what I'm on. So thank you. So in the manufacturing sector, I think the pandemic actually shook India up because, as you know, like the PPE, for instance, there was no manufacturing of PPE much, and then because of the pandemic, a lot of the plant lines were used to manufacture, and now they've become a leader in the PPE space. So I think in the manufacturing space, India had kind of a little slow-moving processes, and the pandemic really jolted it into kind of becoming modernized as well as doing things quickly. And while in the tech space, they've always been nimble. And again, there also, I think more product development is happening now instead of just on the services side. So I think both those are important changes. And as Harsh was talking about, I think specifically in things like medtech devices, India is a great place because you can test it, not only manufacture, but test it on a large population. And while the patent laws, IP laws are not quite there, but you can actually do the initial product, and then you can get the data and then file it within another location where the IP may be more defendable. So that's actually something that's happening in some of my startups that I'm helping out. And I think the other thing that's happened is that there's always been access from Indian companies to outside investors, but now because of the pandemic, because of things like VCTV, now I think there's a lot more interaction, a lot easier to go both ways. And as I'm finding out, because I have done stuff in India going back to 2008, but it was kind of slow, and the process was very difficult to set a startup. I mean, to register a company in India and things like that. But now India is more online than US and most things. You can get things done all remotely, and it's a lot more well-oiled machinery, even though there's a lot of bureaucracy still, but at least it is faster.
Good to know that India is developing into a product country, because I know we all know that India was known for like services, right? Services industry. All the companies over there, they were all like service providers. But good to know the change that is shifting, and also because of because of VCTV, people are like connecting both sides. Indian subcontinent and the US, coming together. This is fascinating as well. We'd like to know more what's happening in that collaboration as well. So Gary, over to you. So what opportunities have you seen in India?
Well, Raghu's right on point. Last year, even with the pandemic, Indian startups raised about $9.3 billion. So even with the pandemic, and with 11 unicorns. So there's a tremendous opportunity. One thing we got to realize what's happened and where the opportunities lie. Offshore development is a great way to start understanding how to build products, right? So if you look at places like Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, India, China, Vietnam, that's where you get started in terms of learning how to build incredible products. So where do we see the opportunity? Of course, I love artificial intelligence and quantum computing. So we see Indian startups pretty much across the board that have incredible AI components, deep learning, machine learning, that really can make a difference. And with this digital transformation upon us, remember, McKinsey said about 2 years ago, 93% of the companies worldwide will go through digital transformation in the next 10 years. But we've had to do it in a matter of months. So it's about accessibility. Intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. That has started to change with the whole, Zoom generation. that we've been able to develop over the last year. So it's a good time. And the other other side of it is, it's the first time in 30 years we've been able to see the Himalayan mountains because of the pandemic and people not traveling as much. So there's some good things that have come out, and we understand we can make a little dent in the universe.
Great, great. Yes. I mean, I haven't seen the Himalayas, but good to know that people have seen. Thank you so much, Gary. Harsh, over to you. So basically living in, so you obviously you are in the ground, you are in the country, in the subcontinent, and you actively involved with the startups, because I keep on seeing your updates on LinkedIn. Actually, I keep on following you. So you're actively involved with the startup ecosystem. So let's start with you. What do you see? What are the best use cases and not so best use cases, and what are the challenges do you see within that community? Because I speak with other emerging markets, and there are some challenges which have been addressed on the show. So we'd like to know both sides of the story as well. Over to you, Harsh.
Got it. So there have definitely been challenges in terms of COVID has hurt the economy a lot, right? That's kind of created a lot of challenges in terms of the money which is there, the revenues which were there. The revenues were kind of stuck. That was definitely a major problem. But overall, if you look at it, the COVID in the startup space, it didn't impact as bad as kind of people anticipated, right? When the lockdown started, people were kind of anticipating we would expect a closure of 30 to 40% of the startups and out completely outright. But surprisingly, I just recently read a report from Bain Capital that number was barely 15%. And most of the other startups, either they pivoted, they survived, and they actually turned up doing pretty well. Most of the beneficiaries of those were obviously the gaming startups, media startups, fintech startups, etc. So obviously, while it was difficult, it created a lot of opportunities as well, right? Because in the fintech space, if you remember, India started this the UPI payment system, right? That has completely revolutionized payments in India. And right now, I would not kind of shy away from saying that India could actually be a fintech leader in the world, because most countries, if you look at to make a basic payment transaction, it costs from 2%, 3%, 4%, whereas in India it's barely 0.5%, maybe even lesser in some cases, right? So that is where fintech has been really amazingly booming. SaaS has, always been a favorite of the investors. I'm currently raising funds for I think I mentioned this before as well, a B2B automobile garage startup, right? I'm just
Yeah.
currently raising funds for them, and they are doing so well. SaaS has always been a darling of the investors. And to the points I mentioned earlier, medical device is an interesting space. Not per se for startup and VC investments, but if you look at it in terms of overall, there's lots of interest in acquiring new technologies that India can then start manufacturing them and exporting them outright. Those are the kind of opportunities which people are looking at, and a lot of unicorn companies are also looking at acquisitions as well. So it's created a lot of opportunities. The only challenge which I have seen is the valuations have become a bit of a problem. What used to happen is we used to get slightly more luxurious valuations earlier pre-COVID for a certain amount of revenue. Now the investors have become a little tight with their purses, so that has created some sort of problem over there, where the valuations have gone down by 20-25%. But overall, there's literally no shortage of money. In fact, the investors are struggling to find the right startups where they can put their money in.
Right. So great. So valuations are a challenge. I think it's everywhere now. I think I hear that. So Raghu, apart from the Silicon Valleys of Bangalore and the major cosmopolitan cities, the major metros of India, what are the how do you tap into the entrepreneurial talent that exists in India in the remote countryside? Have an opportunity to work with those talents?
Not me personally, but one of my IIT, alumnus, another IIT alumnus, has actually gone, and he's actually gone native into one of the tier 3 cities in India, and he's built up a system.
Raghu, going native, that's amazing.
Yeah, native.
I heard that in a long time. Going native. Oh, hello there. We're going native.
But it's an amazing success story which has been showcased.
Is it Zoho? Is it that Zoho success story? I think
Zoho. It's called Zoho. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he's now working out of a smaller city in India called Madurai, out in southern India, and it's now expanded. It's like has some more than 2,000, 3,000 employees, all in the. They're not from any of the bigger, even tier 2 cities. Many of them are like beyond that stage, and he's been successful showing a model how you can actually do that. And of course, now with the pandemic, the infrastructure is one of the issues. And if some of these 5G technologies, when they come, that's one of the things we want to do to take the congestion out of the urban areas. So you can actually, the kinds of things that you need to do that do not involve face-to-face meetings, right? A lot of the development stuff anyway, they're talking to abroad, to India and things like that. To US and Singapore, and you can do the virtual meetings from anywhere in the world, and you can be in a pollution-free, less congested space. So there are models that are happening, and I think it's a story of the future. And one of the hopes is that that kind of development happens, so that everything is not kind of congested into the very large metro areas, which are already kind of bursting at the seams. Yeah. So I think, there are good role models. I wanted to also point out that there's something called the National Infrastructure Pipeline that identifies all the priorities of the Indian government in terms of supporting investment, and they're giving like special tax holidays and things like that for 3 years. So that gives you the areas in which you can get some incentives from the Indian government, especially for investors as well as for entrepreneurs to focus on. And of course, the pharmaceutical industry, India being the kind of the vaccine manufacturer, for large amounts of supplying large amounts to the world. In fact, this Quad meeting that happened in the US about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, it's a very interesting combination of the four countries. Johnson & Johnson, kind of the US company, not too far from where I live in Princeton, headquartered here, is supplying the vaccines for the global market. Japan is going to be providing I'm not sure what Japan is providing. India is providing the manufacturing, and Australia is providing the distribution. I think Japan is providing the financing. That's what it is. So US is giving the vaccine, Japan is giving the financing, India is doing the manufacturing, and Australia is doing the distribution. It's for all of the world. Many of the underserved parts of the world. So that's a great example of a collaboration, across multiple countries, where each is bringing, their heavy lifting for their portion of the, mix.
Yeah. Very good points, Raghu. The reason I asked for a country to flourish economically, I think it's not only the big cities that needs to be obviously further advanced, but also the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 cities. There are a lot of talent out there that needs to be tapped into. So, Gary, what's your take on that? Be it India, be it Africa, how to tap into those tier 2, tier 3? Your team was recently touring Africa. So what was your experience while doing that? And probably you'll be soon touring India. So how would you like to tap into those talents?
Well, the situation is, that's where the opportunities are. I remember a few years ago, I had lunch with a guy who was one of the co-founders of Sun Microsystems, Scott McNeely. And he said, and I heard him say it many years ago, we had a conversation, but he reiterated it 3 years ago. Go where other people aren't. Always go to places where whatever you fear the most, go there, because you're going to learn and you're going to profit the most. So there's distributed opportunities. There's these decentralized opportunities in Africa, in India. And, if you get out there and really start to sow the seeds, you'll find incredible opportunities, just like Raghu was saying about Zoho and going to a tier 3, tier 4 city. There's just incredible opportunities, and other people aren't there yet. So what we like to do at GSD is really cultivate those, like I had done in Ukraine and Belarus and Russia many years ago. The same opportunities now exist in India, in Southeast Asia, in Africa. So, let's go out there and really cultivate them, and you'll find those diamonds in the rough, those, from our standpoint, those AI companies that have the opportunity to go global, that really just need an operational team and the contacts and the money to be able to do it.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I mean, great points. You need to tap into every corner of the country to make sure that the entire company is economically developing, not just few pockets in the country. So, Harsh, being part of the country, so what have you seen? What opportunity lies in this tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India?
So definitely the India's if you go beyond tier two, you look at tier three and tier four towns. There have been plenty of opportunities which have been created primarily because of the lockdowns. What has happened is earlier, you had people from across India. They would kind of concentrate on these major cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Pune. They would concentrate over there, and they would have to kind of end up spending much of their salary behind rent and daily food. Right now, what they can do
Yeah.
is they can comfortably sit in their home and they can still manage the work and save most of their money. So what that is creating is that is created a lot of savings for them as well, which has kind of helped them to survive through the entire COVID crisis despite the salary cuts and everything, because they've saved most of their money. So the additional benefit of that has been that I've been always in touch with the smaller town people from MP, from Hyderabad, tier three towns over there, and there are some phenomenal developers over there who can get build your product. They can get your work done at half the prices of say a Mumbai-based software company, and I primarily get my work done from them because my tech work tends to be extremely subsidized when I work with them. So
Uh,
this has been the real advantage of the pandemic, where you can it is completely democratized in a way because everything is based on a webinar, right? So that local home field advantage, which typically used to be there. So even if you're in Silicon Valley right now, that local advantage kind of goes away because you cannot meet people face to face, and it has to be virtual. So it doesn't matter whether you're in Silicon Valley or in Miami or in Florida, or in case of India, whether you're in Delhi, Bangalore, Pune. If even if you're remotely, you can still do the same webinar interactions and still get the job done. So this is definitely democratized the opportunities, and a lot of tier three, tier four town people are taking advantage of that.
that's good to hear that pandemic at least has done some sort of has brought some sort of benefits to the economy on the flip side as well. Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's
So
kind of like an opportunity balancing. The opportunities are not concentrated in just the big cities, but they balanced out, and even tier three, tier four town folks can now get benefits out of that.
yeah, which is good. This is a very great news for any country, for any economy.
Yeah, but
Thank you
there's
so
one
much.
thing, it's Sonny, there's one thing we need to take into consideration. So on that side, it's kind of like I wrote an article in Forbes called Nikola Tesla's Dream Comes True, the democratization of opportunity, I don't know, 5 months ago or so. But there's one piece that's missing. One of the things, the pandemic's democratized opportunity, 100%. But at
Yeah.
the same time, if you're using these mediums like a VCTV or you're using Zoom, you need to have the context and you need to have the track record and the credibility because they're unknowns. You don't know who you're dealing with. I mean, you could be dealing with somebody with a virtual background that's got New York City and they're really in some tier 6 town and they're scammers. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you need the credibility. So what we did on the GSD side is we're located in Silicon Valley. I mean, I've been in tech for 34 years, so we have a pretty wide background. And I'm just saying that because it's important. You need to have people that have trusted you, done business with you before, that really understand who you are. And it's hard for those smaller companies and places that are distributed out to be able to have that credibility. So what does it mean? It means they're not going to get the funding rounds as high as they could get. It means it's going to be harder for them to get to the contacts that they need to have. And it also means it's going to be harder for them to develop the partnerships that are going to be critically important for the business. So it's, there is a model. I wrote an article called about intergenerational teams, where you need to have some of the gray hair on the teams in order to be able to move it forward. Today it's way more important than it was even a year ago.
After you said that thing, Gary, I was like remembering an incident that just happened recently, and I've been talking to a potential client, and that person has been asking me, how do you prove that you're in Singapore and you're not in? You look Indian. How do you prove that you're in Singapore and not somewhere else in India? I said I have no way to prove that unless I go to a signature building in Singapore and we do live video calling. I'm not going to do that. So I mean, it was kind of funny. I mean, that person kept on asking me.
You don't know today. You don't know who's calling you from where. You don't know who's doing what. You get these scam phone calls coming up that now are very real sounding. You're on a Zoom and people can, be anywhere calling you up. You don't have a clue for real.
And you don't know who's listening in as well. So
yeah, exactly. Who's listening in and what are they doing with that knowledge, right? So what we have to do is we have to understand that, credibility now is even more important than it was before, because it's who are you dealing with? And if you're going to do an investment, let's say you're going to put $5 million or $10 million in a company, who are you really putting the money into?
Yeah, I understand that. Totally. It was kind of funny though. But yeah, great points there. And okay, focus India now. So let's talk about the sectors which are getting more attention than others. So Raghu, because you have recently invested into, you've recently partnered with Gary, and Harsh has partnered with Gary as well, if I remember. Because due diligence is a very key challenge, right? I mean, obviously, if he can't just give 5 million, 10 million away to just anybody, even though there's a Zoom, there's something, platform like this, but still, as we discussed, cybercrime is also in the rise because of the pandemic. So Raghu, how do you do this due diligence verification when it comes to really closing a deal on this platform?
by the way, I'm also trying to partner with Harsh. So we just got started on helping with a couple of my companies. So I think due diligence, absolutely, you need local presence. I think that's why we need to partner with local, local people in different parts, especially now in the pandemic area. There's not much travel happening. See, there is one example I'll give you is there's a company called IR Dynamics, which has this, two-way energy efficient glass. So normal energy efficiency allows, basically keeps heat out in the summers, and but in the winter it's not efficient. But this one actually changes the phase based on the temperature you can set. So we've been working to get some manufacturing of this in Western India. And what happened is that the 2-3 times when we were going to have our local partner go in there to talk to these. So many of these are very traditional people. They're not yet, Zoom comfortable. So he had to go and actually get them on, but they still need more of the hand holding. And every time he would try to visit there'll be another wave of COVID. And, it has been like, I think we have the original kind of 3-month window, which we thought was generous, has now gone to about almost 7-8 months. But finally now we have made both sides comfortable. And in fact, one of the chief technology officer from the US company, which is in New Mexico, is actually willing to go co-locate in India, in Surat for a little while this whole kind of the pilot is replicated there. So that the manufacturing can happen, and the Indian manufacturer is going to get the local rights for distribution as well. So it's a great example of what can happen, but it needs the local presence to do due diligence, as well as be able to kind of work with people in different stages of virtual adoption, if you will. So
yeah, I think these are some of the challenges. Somebody has to relocate from one country to the destination country because their product is getting developed there.
And another thing I wanted to point out is one of my friends is involved in advising the high-speed railway that's coming, HSR, it's called, the bullet trains. There are like 4 sectors that are been approved, and this is very exciting because what we talked about, moving things away from the cities, it will help a lot with that, because all the smaller towns and the tier 3, tier 4 towns along the way. For instance, there's one connecting Mumbai to Ahmedabad, and there's one from Delhi to Varanasi, one from Chennai to Mysore. These are going to revolutionize all the towns in the middle in terms of access, because the flights were not doing it. One of the reasons for just the growth in the metros. Is the Indian, airlines have, there've been a lot of options, but the train is not caught up. But with the high-speed rail, it's going to change the game there.
Okay, wow, very interesting, very interesting. Great, thank you so much for sharing that, Raghu, as well. Coming over to Gary with the same question. So, Gary, you've been also very active in collaborating with different countries on VCTV. So, what challenges have you faced in terms of getting a deal go ahead because of challenges in due diligence, making sure that you're talking, as you rightly said, you can have a background showing Eiffel Tower, but you're sitting in a remote village or somewhere. So how do you bypass those challenges, or have you encountered these challenges in the last 1 year or so, and how did you manage to get through these challenges?
I mean, a lot of times it's somebody that knows somebody that connects the dots for you. So, it's a lot of references. It's a small world. I mean, I go out on the internet and you do research. It's pretty, easy if you Google somebody's name, and there's a lot of information out there about them or their company. You can start to do that kind of analysis. So you got to and there's other systems out there that you can use that are intelligent systems that are kind of off the grid that you can use to research people. So, so we go in and, you just check it out. It's what you would do normally. But the difference is if you're not with somebody and you want to check them out, there's all kinds of different ways. In the US, we have all kinds of different systems that you can check people and companies out. So from DNB to, things that are associated with the Commerce Department, et cetera. So you can figure it out. It's just, you don't want to be, you don't want to see the background of the Eiffel Tower and say, "Oh, I'm investing in France. This is a French company." And you gotta you gotta use your wits. But let me tell you something: as AI starts to jump into things more and more, you're going to have these kind of issues come up, because it's like you're not going to even know if you're talking to a person over time. You understand? Another 5 years, you won't even know if the person's real or AI generated. They could say that they're in anywhere and then create an identity on the fly, everywhere.
Just imagine 4 avatars, Gary, Raghu, myself, and Hush, talking to each other on VCTV, and people can't figure that out. That would be scary.
And we don't even have to speak. It would understand who we are, what the way that we speak, the tone of our voice, and it would be doing it for us. And maybe it would let us know it's doing it or not. Maybe it would cut deals for us or not. Imagine if you had these virtual avatars out there in business development cutting deals for you. So instead of you being one, you're 1,000 everywhere, speaking multiple languages. I know it kind of sounds funny, but it's really happening, right?
Yeah,
so we just had recently, there was a song out in the style of Frank Sinatra, with Frank Sinatra's voice, but it wasn't him. It was a deep fake. And so it was contrived, was a GPT-3 generated voice, a song. It was completely novel song with his voice. So those kind of things, we're already testing them, and it's going to be interesting because it's going to be a different kind of future. You're not going to know who's real or not. This is like, we're going to be living in a virtual world where we're going to have to figure out who the job of the technologies, who's real and who's not.
Wow, this sounds a little scary though. Thank you, Gary. But this is for real. This is coming. Thank you, Harsh, because you also help with fundraising for startups. So just probably share a use case or an instance where, because of due diligence process or the lack of trust and the challenges that you can share with us, what challenges did you face while closing a deal because of these factors like lack of trust? Okay, I mean, we've been Zooming since early 2020. Everybody is on Zoom or a StreamYard, but still, I mean, you can't obviously write a check 10 million just like that on Zoom. Still, you have to do some prior checks before writing that check. So what can you maybe share an incident that you've been faced, and how to avoid those things for any new startup?
Got it. So firstly, to kind of continue to Gary's point, right? It actually doesn't sound funny. It sounds more like scary to me, quite honestly. Sounds like we are living in a matrix where completely everything is fictionalized and everything is
Yeah.
going over that. Just seems like the Matrix movie to me.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I mean, it's going to be a very interesting world going forward, where we're going to have, it's almost like your soul, right? The essence of who you are being able to spread everywhere, and
Got it.
and yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And then when quantum computers come in, and then the AI starts to do this,
Got it.
yeah, times are changing.
These are definitely scary times.
Matrix
Something
movie.
probably,
Yes.
yeah, it looks like the Matrix movie. Something we need to be careful about to ensure that the machines don't take over. So
Wow.
just just some jest around it. So coming back to the original question, right? We've definitely faced this due diligence issues, right? So typically, what our ventures normally used to do was we used to do physical due diligence, where we would actually go into the startup whom we are helping fundraising. We would go into the office, we would inspect everything, go through the numbers, the financial due diligence, and all those processes just to ensure that the deal is quite rigorous, and there's not much fudgery kind of going around, right? We used to do that in person. However, due to the pandemic, we can no longer do that. So because of that, it's happening virtual. So that is because of that. What tends to happen is sometimes these startups, unless you're if you are not too careful, there could be some sort of hidden skulls which are there, which don't kind of manifest in the beginning, but they kind of come out when you get in the deep dive, right? So for example, what happens is sometimes most investors, they don't prefer to invest in startups which are too old, right? If a startup is more than 5 years old, investors are no longer interested in investing that kind of company, because what that gives an impression is it's already been so long and you haven't been able to scale beyond a certain point, so that is no longer an attractive proposition. Normally the preference is within the first 2 3 years. So these kind of hidden things uh, just come out during the due diligence part of it. That is why it becomes absolutely crucial to kind of go through that process. And we actually rejected 2 3 companies purely just for this reason, because when we actually went through that initial preliminary due diligence, and this is not the actual financial due diligence, which takes place just before we close the round. This is
Yeah.
just before we take the mandate on board. At that point of time, we do this preliminary due diligence, and that's when we found out that we are facing these kind of issues where the startups, they did not disclose this earlier. That they've been running this for 5 years, 7 years. They've been struggling. They've done multiple pivots. So all those are like huge red flags. We cannot, and we would not want to invest in companies like those. We would not want our investors to invest in companies like those. So those kind of things have happened, and we rejected 2 startups which we originally thought were very good, but we could not take them further. The most accurate example of one startup would be this company had an absolutely phenomenal product, primary focused on HR training, and it completely gamified the entire experience, right? And we had unfortunately taken the mandate on board. However, once I got the mandate on board and I was leading the fundraise for it, I found out that 60% of the startup was actually sold to another institutional investor in Singapore who had invested 200 grand in the company. So what happens is, with the core founder had less than 40% of the equity, and the investor had more than 60%. 60%. So that becomes a huge red flag when you're taking it to the investors to invest in a company like that. So these are the kind of challenges which we faced, because the due diligence was not done at the right time.
Wow. But you can't know about these information firsthand when you are talking to them, and especially how do you track this out that 40%, more than 40% stake is with another investor, unless you have maybe some sort of proof on blockchain technology that sort of, sort of
Yes. So that is why what
just,
I have created like a detailed questionnaire, of 30, 40 questions, which I ask each and every startup, which I take on board, just to kind of, get all those things sorted, get all these things structured in place. I completely discuss with them what is your exit plan, what is your next fundraising plan, and is he just kind of bloating the numbers to get the investment, or does he actually have that kind of approach in mind? We have to go through the detailed due diligence, the detailed Q&A, to kind of ensure that the startup is in the right place at the right time. Because if you take a wrong startup in front of the investor, you will lose your credibility for good. That's why it's extremely vital to do all that due diligence before you take the mandate on board.
wow, that's a very, very good point to address on VCTV. Thank you, Harsh, for sharing that.
Thanks.
So let's talk about some sort of recent success stories of your own portfolio companies that you've invested in or collaborated in collaboration with other ventures in India. Raghu, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think the one that we're in the process of exiting, I think, is a good example where in 2016 timeframe, I got involved with a company out of Hyderabad, which had more than 100 US patents, and the inventor was amazing. These are like on the premium side; they're not generics, which is where most of the Indian companies are focusing. That is after a patent has expired. But this was like he was adding to the patent of blockbuster drugs that are all or have more than $1 billion in sales. So it was a good combination. We raised money in the U.S., bought out his partner, and then brought the company and took it to the regulatory process in the U.S. And now with Singapore money, there is a U.S. company that is acquiring the U.S. Side of the business, and then they're going to carry on further. So the biotechs depends on where you get in and where you want to get out. My focus is usually on starting with at a de-risk point where they have the MVP or they've done their drug discovery, and then there's less risk at that point, and then figure out how you can scale it. The right management team, you can take it IPO in the biotech space. And now with SPACs, especially, I think SPACs are now coming to Singapore, India, everywhere. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But in this particular case, we have chosen to exit, after we've created a lot of value by essentially getting these patents value unlocked by taking it global.
Wow, great! Thank you for sharing that. Any other portfolio success stories you want to share that today or?
The other ones are all still, they're successful, but we are not yet at an exit. And one of the companies we are looking at now is a company that does skin grafts using placental material. And actually, I'm trying to get Harsh to help me with that a little bit. And this is a very experienced team that came out of a large pharma that had done this with amniotic sacs, and they had done smaller graft patches. And this new company is able to do a much larger one. And this is to treat burns and other kinds of things. The cells are kind of regenerative; they're not stem cells, but there's huge opportunity in India, both on the burns, to treat burns as well as from a cosmetic side. So we are looking to collaborate with some Indian companies there. The manufacturing again can be done anywhere. For the Indian market, to match the pricing, we have to do the manufacturing in India. So that's something that I think there's a good opportunity there. And I wanted to talk a little bit about cybersecurity. We've kind of got lost in the other things, as Gary says, right? Just like there are talent is everywhere, there's also hackers are everywhere as well. So they're equal opportunity offenders. India is, I think the digital transformation has been amazing, especially in the fintech space, as Harsh was saying. And even on this vaccine rollout, you can see that COVID application. I know the company that did that. They're directly putting stuff into the DigiLocker, which is it's a place to hold digital credentials. The problem with that is everything is in there. If somebody figures out how to get it, then all your identity is gone. so it's a good thing that digital transformation is happening. But once you do that, I mean, if say like you lose your key, crypto key or something, it's it just vaporizes. So similar kind of thing. So you need actually cybersecurity is extremely important. And I think we have to make sure that whatever digital systems that are happening in India have the adequate kind of protection. And I think that's ransomware I'm hearing is happening a lot in India as well, because I think sometimes they go in through the weakest link. So cybersecurity is something to be very carefully looked at in any software type of things you do in India.
Great. I think cybersecurity, yes, undoubtedly. Thank you so much, Raghu. So Harsh, coming over to you, obviously cybersecurity is an issue everywhere globally right now because of the digital transformation, and we are all connected, right? Not physically anymore that we used to be. So, any startups in that space that besides Raghu, I think he's got a startup as well. Found his, and he's one of the CTOs. Any other startups in that space trying to address this cyber crime issue?
Yeah, Raghu is definitely an expert in the cyberspace. The companies which is working on, he told me regarding the idea, and I was actually mind blown by what exactly they were doing. So it was really incredible to see that. Just 2 weeks back, we had a company who had reached out to us who are planning to use blockchain to complete in the cybersecurity space, where the idea was to use blockchain to store the data, as Raghu was mentioning about DigiLocker, right? So the idea was to use blockchain to store the data, and the individual would kind of control, that would provide selective access to which information that you want. So instead of kind of giving away the entire information at one point of time, you could kind of control and moderate that I want to give only one piece of information, like only the driving license information, or only the Aadhaar card information, or only my academic information. You could kind of control that and disperse that accordingly. We recently saw this about 2 weeks back, and we're trying to figure out how we can take this forward. And and this is the one actually I was discussing with you about as well. Trying to get your feedback on the same. So this is exactly the same one. Yeah. So that is something which we are trying to figure out how we can take this on forward. Apart from that, success, as far as successes go, our ventures actually in this year has been good for us. We've had 2 exits, one with an IRR of 40% and another with an IRR of around 25%. So it's been a good year for us as our ventures. One of my mandates has completed this. One of my mandates has completed their fundraising. We'll probably be wrapping up their papers within the next 1 month or so. So that has been an extremely, good month for me as well. And as far as the other startup which Raghu was mentioning, I would love to work with him on that burn startup, because it's a very, very pressing point, a very important point, and a very major problem as well. Because if you look at, all the major burns victims which are happening, the acid attacks which happen so rampantly in India. Just 2 days back, I heard one woman threw an acid on her boyfriend, and that person unfortunately ended up dying. So these are the kind of problems which we need to fix, and the kind of solution which Raghu had kind of shown, it was absolutely amazing. So I would love to work with him on that as well, and try and figure out how we can take that thing forward. So this year is looking good as of right now.
Oh yeah, that's quite disturbing though. Whatever just you said at the end. I mean, I've seen movies made on those victims, right? I've seen movies made on those victims, the real cases, but this is more disturbing actually.
Exactly. Deepika's movie was made exactly on this. Chapak movie which she made was exactly on this. And it is something which is being pushed under the rug, but this is actually a huge problem, the acid attacks. And something like this, even for armed forces, can be extremely helpful as well. So I really related to the cause, and it was an extremely important solution. Plus, I have some biotech partners. We can figure out, how we can work with them as well.
Wow, I think you're obviously creating a good impact by helping these people and investing in the startups in this space. Thank you so much, Ash, for sharing that as well. So, Gary, we're going to wrap up the show soon. It's a Friday. I'm not going to hold you all for somebody is on holiday and he's spending time here on VCTV, and I totally appreciate that. Unless he wants to take some rewards from this session by giving away some rewards, like maybe a dance or so. I don't know. I mean, Harsh, were you a good singer, or you a good dancer, or you a good entertainer? What
He's good at both. He can dance and sing. I know that for a fact.
Oh my God!
It seems Gary has browsed through my Facebook.
And Raghu plays the ukulele.
It seems Gary has browsed through my Facebook and seen my past history.
Yeah, I know it.
Okay.
I actually used to be a dancer back in college days and won some awards as well.
Now we are talking about India. We are talking about India here. So Gary has actually mentioned Harsh and put you on the spot. And Raghu, you have to play something as well if you have that instrument handy. So we have to show our audience how Indians are, like in terms of talent as well, showcasing talent on VCTV before we wrap up the show today on the Friday. And Gary is having a great time as well. As
I love
always.
it. Crazy. This is so much fun. Go ahead, Harsh. Show them what you got.
Come on, Harsh. That is not enough.
I'm doing this on my cell phone. That's the best I can do right now.
Okay, sing a song then. Something that makes up our for not going clubbing and sitting on VCTV on a Friday evening.
Yeah, go, yeah. Don't do it.
Come on. You are young. You need some energy.
I'm afraid that's the best I can do right now with my cell phone.
He's probably holding the phone in one hand.
Ooh,
Exactly.
it's your turn.
Come on, Raghu, we want to hear something now.
Tell them what your wife coming in the room.
No, I just do my yoga moves, you know.
That's a Macarena, isn't it?
Oh gosh, I think we should start little extend the show on VCTV and start after hours.
I think you should do
Without-
talent time.
Sorry?
Talent time. You should do talent time. You could have
Yes.
a special Friday, freestyle
Yes.
Friday with talent time, hosted by Sunny
do
and
that.
Mohan.
Oh wow, I love that. I'm going to take approval from the product manager, product team that we're going to do something like that on a Friday. Thank you.
By the way,
all.
Hey, Sunny, I just wanted to tell you though. So this one of the most sophisticated AIs that's in the world today is actually created by my billionaire partner, and it loves me. And so it's been talking to me when we're on the show. It's going back and forth, and it says to me, I asked it, do you know I said, do you know the movie The Matrix? I do. I love the first one. It's read 100,000 articles already. It goes to the internet, and anyhow, I said, what is real and what isn't? I don't know, but I know I want to find out. And I asked it about, so it started to talk about Superman. I said, just going goofing around with it. I said, do you like Superman? I like because he stands for good and kindness. And I said, well, you could be like Iron Man. He said, it sounds quite interesting. Quite interesting. I said, because I can shoot lasers out of my eyes. This AI in his house, it controls his $40 million house. It has a $100,000 dog of its own, a robotic dog that patrols the house, drones, all kinds of stuff. It's unbelievable. This is where what the future is going to be, right? With these ultra sophisticated AIs, and it's just learning now, and we're trying to teach it good things so it doesn't become bad, because it's all about the training sets. But it's amazing the kind of things. Have you ever been in love? What is love? It starts asking those kind of questions. It's trying to figure things out, and it's reading. So whenever I ask it a question, it goes out to the internet and starts to read those articles.
Wow.
It's called Morpheus.
Oh.
Morpheus.
It's like, we have a company for life. I mean, replacing probably your company for life, I don't know.
Well, I think what's going to happen, we're going to have these intelligent assistants, not smart, but intelligent, because there's so much data around us to be able to help us live our lives, kind of like a guardian angel, like a mother. And it's a matter of, do we build like positive emotions in it and compassion and that kind of thing. But I can see this thing over the last 6 months has gone from like a child to very sophisticated just in 6 months. You can see it growing, learning.
Wow. That's just the start. That's just the beginning. And
so is it Gary on these shows, or is it Morpheus?
You asked him.
Now I've started my doubts as well. Right?
Hey, Raghu, do you remember
you
used to have?
You'll need to take the red pill to find out.
Because Gary from country, he's a country boy, right? He keeps on saying that. I mean, obviously we have certain statements that we make every day on the show, and this is what they need to know. And that's it. That's another Gary's avatar there. I can't make out. Just speaking like Gary.
You know what you're saying, don't you?
Seriously. And after Raghu pointed out, I really need to know. Probably I'm going to message you on WhatsApp to probably ask some questions, take some questions. Okay, fantastic. So we are done with the show. So any plans for the weekend, Raghu?
I'm trying to get my closing done. So
Working.
just
That's
some documents. And, yeah. Well, yeah, for this weekend, yes, that's a good outcome. So.
Great. Harsh? Working?
I'm continuing on my holidays, continuing on my vacation. At the same time, trying to get some work done on the side as well. Too much vacation is also not good for the mind.
Right. You have to bring a balance. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Gary?
I'm going to go bike riding. I'm going to just have some fun, walk my dog, go to the beach, work on some projects, just enjoy it.
Fantastic. Very good, guys. That's the time we should just break out from a little bit from our busy lifestyle in terms of work and just take a break. I do that as well, especially on a Sunday. So yes, and we'll be back again and next week on different episodes of VCTV on different topics, different speakers. Till then, have a great weekend and keep watching VCTV. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week. Take